Hey guys, welcome to the Moment of Clarity, Lessons in Leadership. I'm Dr. Williams, and today we're going to talk about the first 3 of 5 enemies of growth. This is going to help you. All right, guys, so let's go in. We're talking about the 5 enemies of your growth. And on this episode, we're talking about just the first 3 of those enemies because I don't want to overload you. And I believe that anytime you're looking to grow, anytime you're trying to move and walk in whatever your calling is as a leader, it's good to understand your strengths, but it's even better to understand your adversary. Right? And when I say adversary, I don't want you to necessarily put a spin on it and begin thinking about the devil or anything, because oftentimes we are our adversary. Oftentimes our mindset is our adversary. And I heard Dr. Darius Daniel say this: you'll never begin to grow if you don't change mindset, understand your skill set, and understand the toolkit that you have to grow. And so in order for you to be successful as a leader, in order for you to really fulfill the calling that's on your life, you're going to have to understand the enemies of growth. Listen, this is so important. So I want you to tune in. I want you to lock in, and I want you to be reflective. One thing that I want to say about the Moment of Clarity is it's not about me trying to get out there. It's not about you just watching and listening. It's about self-reflection. I want you to look in the mirror and say, do I have a grasp on these enemies of growth, right? Do I understand what they are, and how do I combat them? Right? So let's go in. Let's talk about it. I heard a quote one time that said, it's not ignorance that causes us to stray. It's the illusion of knowledge. The illusion of knowledge is the first thing we want to talk about as far as the enemy of growth. Listen, we see this all the time. And one thing that happens is it actually bothers us. Right? When you're really digging in, when you're really invested in something, and you hear somebody talk about it who think they know what they're talking about, and they don't really have a clue, it bothers you. And in the leadership capacity that you serve, you have to eliminate that illusion of knowledge. How do I eliminate the illusion of knowledge, Doc? Listen, you can only eliminate the illusion of knowledge by getting on the front lines of those who serve you, by talking to them, by creating a risk-taking culture, by creating a safe space for them to be able to educate you on what is really going on. Listen, you can't get in a leadership position and feel like I know everything. You have to be willing to be taught, because there are people who are doing what they're supposed to do every single day, and you're trying to tell them how to do it, right? And your job is to guide them into how to do it, but you can't properly guide them in how to do it if you don't understand what they are attempting to do. That's powerful. So sometimes when we get a title, and I'm just going to be real because this is the Moment of Clarity. Sometimes when we get a title, what we tend to do is think that because we have a title, we have all knowledge. We don't. Just because we have a title does not mean we know everything. Listen, in my leadership capacity right now, I supervise teachers. I was a teacher for 7.5, 8 years, right? And I was a pretty good teacher. At least I thought I was a pretty good teacher, and the data thought that I was a pretty good teacher, right? But now in my leadership capacity, I'm so holistic in what I see every day that I'm not checked in to just about every single thing that the teacher has to do on a regular basis. So how do I become knowledgeable in what they're trying to do? How do I give them and lead them towards the mission and vision that I want them to go towards? Is I have to sit at at their feet sometimes to hear the issues, the concerns, the problems, but also the good things that are going on so I can effectively lead them. Listen, I never want to walk in a meeting with people that I supervise or people that I'm trying to help grow and have the illusion of knowledge. I want to have the truth about it. And the only way you can get there is if you're willing to humble yourself, to sit down with those people and say, let's look at how we can do this a little bit better, or help me understand how you're doing it, because you're doing a great job at what you're doing. Listen, the second enemy of growth, and we know this, so I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on this one. The second enemy of growth is comfort. Listen, you get so comfortable in your calling, right? You get so comfortable in what it is that you're doing. You get so comfortable in your gifts. I think that's a good one, right? Because you're so gifted at things sometimes that you get so comfortable that you can do it in your sleep, right? But if you really want to grow, when you find yourself getting comfortable in it, you have to figure out a way to challenge yourself, which is going to cause discomfort, which is going to cause growth. Listen, success is always on the other side of discomfort. Let me say that again. Success, glory, admonition, all of that is on the other side of discomfort. Listen, ask that mother who brought you into this world whether or not success was on the other side of discomfort. Listen, success is always there. And in order for you to really grow, you've got to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to know and understand that, listen, I've got to create a space where I can grow. And the only way that I'm going to come up out of the ground is I'm going to have to fight through the soil before I can blow. Listen, the third enemy of your growth, I believe, is the fear of failure. The fear of failure is a heavy one. That's a deep one, because the fear of failure is something that causes us not to even pursue what we know we're called to do. Let me say that again. The fear of failure causes us to not even pursue what we know we're called to do. Why? Because failure is an attack on your ego. Failure is an attack on your pride. And when you fail at something, people are going to look at you differently, right? But the real test of someone who really values growth is not when they fail. It's how they recover from failure, right? Because failure is not final. And you have to understand that even if I fail in pursuit of what I'm called to do, then even the failure was a God-given opportunity for growth. Even if I fail in what I know I was God-givenly called to do, then even the failure was an opportunity for growth. Listen, if you ever studied the Bible and you know the Apostle Paul, he was attacking the church and he was crucifying people and he was stoning people, and he was knocked down one day by God. And God said, why do you keep kicking against the bricks? Right? And so what Paul was able to do because of that is he was able to write the majority of the Bible, the New Testament of the Bible, because he understood that when I was doing the wrong thing, when I was failing, that was ammunition rather, for me to be able to help these people in the future. He didn't understand it then, but he understood it in hindsight, right? So what you got to understand about fear of failure is fear of failure will cause you to not pursue what you know you're called to do. And you can't be an effective leader if you're too bogged down with the fear of failure. Notice what I didn't say. I never said failure is bad. It's the fear that comes with that. It's the fear of failure that will cause you to not do what you're called to do. Listen, I'm Dr. Williams, and this is the moment of clarity. Leave me a comment below. Like, share, and subscribe. And remember, if no one's following you, you're just walking. See you next time.